last week we got a demo from Zoltan about UI testing PR using big testing tools and Selenium instead of Cypress. We shipped 1.5, .NET 7 was released. Sure the PR was not released yet. We talked about SQL issue, and I completely forgot about that thing. But thank you for reminding me. I since then remember what the issue was. So I think about it. GraphQL, questions from Mike. I think we find an issue. Maybe my custom fields. See that this is what we should add to GraphQL. That and today 7:50. What do we have? We have demos. Like we have topics. Look like, but we'll find some topics. Then we'll start by one. Nothing, but we got some PR last week. One, and this one from 11.8. That's all. That's all is new. What do we have? So that 9 docs.net view install command. Okay. Update. Is it better? Is it the new way to do -i? Is it wrong? -i?
There is a warning when you use a -i.
Okay, so that's a new thing, and they work, but they're like, yeah, use this one.
Yeah, saying that it's obsolete and it will be removed.
Okay, good job. That and some main, same thing here, everywhere in .NET. .NET is so it's a subcommand to the command. Interesting. Then enable disable RSS feed per list, new feature from Hisham. So you can say that you don't want a list to expose an RSS feed. The new option. Disable RSS feed, because by default, which is false, and you can check the checkbox and say, I want to disable the RSS feed for this list. Today we generate it all the time, so we are backward compatible. Feature, thank you, Hisham. Update Jint version co. Faster, better, less bugs. Updates on mkdocs, remove and use YesqlOptions options from SetupService. Okay. And update Azure.Identity. Questions?
It's an issue I submitted with in YesSql. I'm guessing it's something I'm doing wrong. And I appreciate any kind of feedback if you want to look at that, since we don't have much going on.
Okay, we'll look at some issues. Look at some issues. So let's look at the one wrong. I saw notification. I didn't look at the issue. That's yours.
Yeah.
Nobody answered to Thomas. Oh, so sad. Okay. Is there a way to reuse join with multiple conditions? Yes, if I understand the question. It's the top. Oh, that's interesting. Wait. I would say yes, but so what's interesting is that I would expect calling it multiple times to use the same join. So that's weird that it's doing that today, but if it's doing that, it's on purpose.
I actually don't think it's weird. I think it logically it makes sense unless you give it more instructions saying,
Okay, but
hey,
it's not
reuse
available.
this.
Yeah, because when we do that and we create a join, we name the join, so we can reuse the join.
Yeah, but I think you would have to provide the name somehow
Yes.
to the with, so that way it knows that, hey, these three should belong to the same join. Otherwise, I don't think logically you can predict. Like if we have an alias to pass to with, then
Oh,
you know
what you okay? What you want to do is different. Actually, what you want is to change that. So what you should do, okay, if you can do that, is call with only once, but this predicate will be built dynamically.
Yeah, and then pass all. But the problem if you scroll down, I'm actually there. The conditions also go through a different index. You see at the bottom. So there's like in the same join, I want to also join to another index based
That's
on
okay.
condition.
Oh.
So it's not the same.
This one?
So like you can't apply all to different indexes.
This one?
Yeah.
That's two different predicates. There is one predicate that is built out of that, one predicate that is built out of that. Well, and that's it. So you just call it this one once, and you call drill down once. It would look like this. Like I don't know what's the type of that, but imagine it's func
String.
index pool. I don't know. Okay. Say that. Okay, true. Something like that. Then you say, oh, say, and then here you say, because you want an end, you say equal. Something like, and I don't know how you do that. Okay, so I'm building a tree, and the same thing here. In the end, code is a tree of conditions, and or in this case, yeah, a tree of and then you just say dot with, or and then you add this block. It's just like it. So you just call with this one once, just past the condition that you changed.
So build an expression tree
Yes.
for
Yes.
every index in a way.
Yes, because when you code with here, it's accepting an expression. So this is actually an expression in when it's given to the with method, it's an expression. So you can build your own expression out of it. and I think you understand, like isin doesn't do anything. It's just a method named isin that does nothing. But when we find a call in an expression called isin, we say, oh, change the thing they want to do and use an in stuff in SQL. But it's not in the isin method. It's like the thing that navigates the expression tree. We find this method call and then decide to do something because it's named isin and it has a list of IDs argument.
So when I build the expression, would I still use isin?
Yes.
Not contain?
No, isin. Contain has a different meaning than isin. So both make sense. If here you use isin, it will still be isin. I was just saying that this is an expression. So you're passing multiple expressions, but you can also do that and say, I start with an expression. So it actually has to be an expression here. Something like that. And I'm sure you can even say like, well, you will see what you can do, what will work, but that should be something like that. The idea is that you look at the with method, you look at what is the type of argument it's accepting, whatever the type is inside, you declare the first value that is the true expression. Maybe there is something called, well, because you say it's an expression, it will convert this code into an expression that returns true. But it might be equivalent to just saying cond equals expression. It's not, because you need a func. So it has to be something like a func that returns a lambda. It's easier to write in C# by writing the C# code, because a compiler will convert it to an expression, because it sees that this lambda you try to assign it to an expression, so it will get the expression tree out of it. It's just when you want to do it dynamically that you need to explain what is the node of the expression you want to have, in this case end, which will take two sub-expressions.
I think also in the future, it might be helpful to provide like an alias for with. So we're given the builder instructions of how we want the query to end up with.
Maybe, because in this case, what it would do is just add more where clauses, like where and end. That yeah, maybe. But that's so yeah, I understand. I said that might be good to not do it, to not reuse. Maybe you could have a with existing that we say.
Yeah. Yep. With existing or just with, but just whatever parameter you provide, that would probably be your like alias or identifier for that join. And so because it already has been added to the output or to the builder, then you just use the same thing. You don't add it again.
Raise default query. So the type is expression func t-index pool. So close. That's what you need to declare. And here bind, so bind t-index. That's where it's weird, because look at it. When we call with an index and an expression, which you do like multiple times, look at the code. If I look at bind with a t-index, hey, I want to go there. Show me. It says bind with a type of, which is this one, and it says get bindings index of t-index. So it's looking for the binding, like the join, if you want, for the t-index. So look, that's why it's weird to me, because it should use the same binding.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting because if that's the case, I would assume that's wrong, right? Because if someone wants to join the same table multiple times with different condition, I mean,
but I don't think there is a reason to do that. Why would you join in the same query for the same document table to the same?
Like if you want to do like a left join.
Maybe that's not
Right.
supported in YesqlOptions. That's a different way to do that.
So a left join is not supported.
I don't remember. If you say no, if you say that it will be required, then this code says no.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah, and that's why I was saying I expect, because I remember this code, like reuse a binding, existing binding, and it's only when sometimes internally it stores the binding, even if it's an existing one, to reuse for something else. So yeah, it does these things when the API makes it. So what I want to say is that because you are using this method, it assumes that you want to reuse the same index. And to me, that makes sense because you project on the index and you just add more constraints on the index.
Maybe because I'm using all at the bottom. I mean.
Oh yeah. So yes, maybe what is all?
Yeah,
maybe that's
it
maybe
apply
that's
all these conditions, right?
Oh, interesting. Maybe that's not. I don't know what this is. Sure, I will know when I see it, but I don't remember.
I mean, it's generating multiple joins. That's for sure.
Maybe that's the difference. How does this search work? Filters all predicates on newly joined index. Yeah, maybe that's it. It's recent. Let's look at that. Yep. So it looks like, oh, wait. What I do is the test. Yeah, I think that's Dean who had it like that. Any all. Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
So any means any of these conditions, and all means all these conditions. So when I build a multiple with, like I'm doing, and then pass it to all, you would think it's just going to apply the same node.
It's interesting because you are calling dot with. Here it's doing only one way. So maybe this test is not showing what it's doing because you are calling it multiple times. There is only one. Okay, interesting. Fine. So stupid. Yeah, okay, this one might be better because the all has two of them, which is any and all, like alls and. So yeah, it's like ands, alls. Interesting, but yeah, so that will be interesting to see what this query is doing. What's the goal of all and any? Multiple index queries. So maybe in this case, it needs two joins, yes. To do a OR with the first join and then maybe that's, or maybe it's using the same join.
I mean, what I want is do all like and for everything. So basically
so
grab all these conditions, right?
Yeah, but that's way that you have these multiple joins that you say. I would expect it to just do one. Oh no, because you said you do all. Yeah, maybe all does that. So yeah, just call with without the conditions that add, just to see. It might still work like as you want. Just remove condition that add. You just call that and that and that again. Pretty sure we do that also in Orchard all the time. Just keep
so when you add with, it will automatically update the source. Like for example, Q will get updated. So you're saying just do like query?
Yes, I think it's mutating. Like you don't need to store with to call with the next one. It's safer, but if you just call with and with and with, it will just add it to the queue state, to the query state. Yeah. Don't do conditions. Just go queue with, queue with, queue.
And then at the end, instead of using all, just query or execute the query.
Yep. Then it's just session query. Yeah, the queue dot list stays in. Return queue in your case, because you return that. So I think that's it. Please answer when it works. Please answer and close it.
I'll definitely try it, but I mean, you would think that what I did should also work using the all. It should not be creating joins, right?
You say it's creating joins, so maybe that's what it has to do, because the tests are there, and maybe we should understand the test to understand all and any. Otherwise, if it's doing the same thing as wait, then there is no reason. There is all and any. I don't know. Maybe that's required. Maybe that's the goal of the all, to be able to do multiple inner joins. So about YesSql and the topic from last week, what I remember that today we do add distinct to all queries to prevent getting multiple documents when the query does a join on and could return two documents or two different constraints. So we do a distinct because we just want one time the same document. When we do paging, for instance, if the same document appears twice, no, we want it one because we don't want the page to miss one document. And this PR and this distinct makes the query slow when you have lots of items. So the goal is to remove the distinct and replace by something else. But maybe sometimes, but also sometimes you might not want to have distinct documents. So I think this PR introduces the group by document to optionally. So first, the distinct is replaced by a group by, which makes things faster. But because we might not want it to be done, then group by has been introduced, such that you can group when you want. Like the distinct is doing, but it's doing it faster than using distinct. So that's the goal of the. And clear group by to say, no, I don't want to group by. If it was a default, you can say don't group by. If it was not, you can say group by. That's the idea of the PR. Then it's blocked because there are two tests, one failed. There are two new tests, one failed, one doesn't fail. We need to make them both work. That what should go. Issues of interest, PRs of interest, like anything from, I have one of PR, anything from 1.5 that is broken and we need to look into. Feedback from 1.5, like it's faster, it's slower, no issues, migration went well, packages are big, or something I didn't mention. It's not here, but the full release, well, the full releasing the packages at least was done by Jasmin. So I didn't do anything. Jasmin created the release. He was like on Friday, okay, can I do it? Sure. So Jasmin went on the release, merged the 1.5 branch. I think we merged back together on 1.5 or something like that. Created the release as a draft, generated the change logs, remove the duplicates. That's what we do on all the versions you update. If you update, for instance, X unit 5 times, we just keep the last update with the new version, the log here. Then publish the release, which triggered the build and publishing NuGet packages and Docker images. So everything went well. Then update the main branch to now generate 160 CloudSmith. And that's it, yeah. So that went well. If your face is not here, either change your icon. Well, I believe everyone is here, but Gabor, you must be here, right? Yeah, you're here. But Sotiris, hey, hi. How are you? Can't find you here. You should fix a typo. Look at me. I did one commit, I think, for this read, and I'm still here. And the commit was like merge a branch or something like that. Good. So just saying adjustment. So we have done that to ship the packages. So no issues. Oh yeah, this one. I'm getting news from them. I did. What's the other project that? This one. So is their bot working? They use the bot? They do use the bot. Is it broken also, or is it fixed and we need to enlist? Yeah, let's see. I have done. This zip code. So we'll look into that. Last member occlusive.
I'm having an issue with GraphQL. Still, I
You know what?
created a part and I can't filter by it. I get exceptions, so I'm not sure. I followed the documentation, so it's either the documentation is wrong or something else that is wrong.
Tell you what. If you saw the thing here. I saw someone who got fired from Twitter this morning. Someone who owns GraphQL Twitter. And it was funny. I don't know who's right, but yeah, he's fighting with his own team about he doesn't need GraphQL to do that. Why do we use GraphQL? Maybe you're like Elon, and you're like, no. Did you find an issue?
Yeah, there's an issue. 12797. Yeah.
So you create a part, code part.
The C# part. And I added the filters. I can
Yeah.
filter by it,
I like it.
then I get exception.
Oh, but you get, so you write this code and it looks good so far, and then
Yeah, I mean, I follow the documentation, and then you add the filter. This part is different than the documentation because you can't do what the documentation is saying to do. But that's not what the exception. I posted the exception. It's strange. Yeah.
yeah, so you are building a SQL query, right?
Yeah.
Do you realize that you are building a SQL? Well, you are building. You are not. I assume YesSql is building a SQL query, right? So this is an index. No, this is a part. So
Yeah, it's a part, but then there's an index for it.
So you have the index.
Yes.
And the table. Did you look at the query that it was generating? That would be the first thing. Because you see here, it says here end. So it finds an end and it says you're trying to resolve field vehicle and so it's like n vehicle equals something. So vehicle needs to be part of your index. So you need to be sure that the field actually exists in the database, in the table, and there is not a join issue like it's doing that on the wrong table.
Well, so the documentation does not say that I need to add alias provider. But if you look at my code, if you look at, there's two errors. There's an error after I add alias provider and a different error without the alias provider. So I'm not sure if I really should need an alias provider or not.
Yeah, so this doc is probably before the new. Oh, you know what? So whether because we updated to GraphQL 4 or something. So who's the one who did that? The Mike, right? Too many updates. Okay. If I look at the source code. And what's the user who created, updated GraphQL SPR? Mike, right? Then just to see. But yeah, probably documentation doesn't reflect the changes now. Like GraphQL 4.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, I created the filter anyways, but you know, whether do I need the alias added or not, and whether I add it or I don't, I still get an error, but it's a different error.
It's a SQL error every time. So I will start looking at the SQL that is generated, just to have an idea of what's wrong in the SQL. That will maybe drive you to understand how is this thing. Because you have again .all, maybe it's the same issue. I don't know.
Is it using the mini profiler to get the SQL, or is there
So it will show you, but because it's a GraphQL thing, might not be accessible. So what you can do is use logging, because YesSql logs the SQL with so can YesSql. So logger. iLogger. Okay, so it's used. Here. So you can set the logger. So I believe we do that. And then so check that in the code we set the logger in Orchard core. That we set the logger to the iLogger that Orchard provided. And then you just need to enable logging with the correct namespace like YesSql. Okay? So if you enable logging like at debug level, then you will see the SQL queries because they are logged at least debug level. I don't know which level, but you can then enable it. Assuming that we do that correctly in Orchard core, that we set the logger. Pretty sure we do. What's the name? Configuration of logger. Maybe not. So yeah, if it's not the case when your SQL is configured, just assign the logger API, and then you can log every SQL sent by a SQL. If you have the new profiler, it's possible that it works because when you enable it, it will probably buffer all the queries until the next rendering. So you just execute your GraphQL, then you render an onion page, and it should show all the SQL that went in GraphQL with a new profiler. That should work also.
Yeah,
And
I'm
if we
looking
don't-
at that configuration. I don't think we actually set it.
Then we should.
It's in the Orchard core builder extensions. It's inside the data YesSql project.
That yeah, try mini profiler should work also. Pull request. There is one that I think for now, which is at 7. Jint. Oh, there is nothing at 7. This one. And it's failing. Oh yeah, so So that is good. Too much conflict. The thing that needs to be changed is, so I think, Antoine, you committed some backup files that you don't want to commit. And default target is fine, but we need net 6 and net 7 as common targets. Because we need to build for both. So that's a change. And then this thing here. So you removed it. It's good, but you said there is a new one. This one, I don't understand why we have. I like to understand, and then add a comment somewhere to say we use this reference because we need that. But I like to understand because it's just UI identity and we don't render it. So if we use something that is pointed by that, then just use what is pointed by that, but not that. Because it's GA, we should ship with net 7 now. At least if we can find bugs like when we run that for feedback for net 7. That's it.
Since we were talking about YesSql, do you want us to merge that the PR that adds support for the index? I mean, the identifier column and the table name and the schema, or do you want to review that?
Oh yeah, now we can do that on the main. Yes, it was ready. You did that, right?
Yeah, it has approval. I just don't know if you want to review it before we merge it, or you want to just merge it. I mean,
so where is that?
12683. Yep, that one, first one.
Table prefix separator schema. Identity column type and document table. Do we need that? Schema, yes, but do we need to? Isn't it too complex? Should it be like advanced options, like your tenant? I mean, that this could be like in the configuration file, but in the UI.
Well,
schema,
eventually it's going to make it to the. So that's when you add a tenant. So when you add the tenant as a admin of the default, you should be able to configure everything from the UI. Once it's configured, you don't get asked again.
Yeah, I mean, that's my question. Should we actually expose it to the tenant creation? Like, do we want users to be able to change it?
Well, you can only change it until the tenant is set up. Once a tenant is set up, then you can't change it.
Yes, but still, I understand. And I still reiterate my comment, which is, do we want people to be able to change it?
That's the whole purpose of making it option, or?
They'll be able to configure it like globally. But for schema, yes. But table naming separator, document table name, identity column, you might want that to be forced by convention in the configuration. And then
Yeah, but you might not.
Yeah, and that ends my question. But if you take the odds of people wanting to be able to do that versus people like system admins not wanting anyone to be able to change that, like they say, I want all the tenants to use longs. And then, oh, but I can still move it to integer. Like, crap, no, I don't want you to change integer. See?
Well, you can't. I mean, so here's the thing. So you could initially start what everybody have started with, integer right now. Okay. Moving forward, you want to say any new tenants, I want them to be big integer or whatever the case is. So what we have to do in order to support the backward compatibility is that we have to store that into the tenant settings, right?
So where? Yes, but it could still be a value in the configuration file that is used when it has to be used, like when the tenant is created. So all the tenants that are created have the old value by default in their settings. But when we create a new tenant, we don't have to ask people. We take the value that is defined in the configuration, which is maybe by default for all the new tenant, take the bigger one, but still have it as an option. So that's just that a file option such that the users can say, I still want the old one.
I mean, the whole idea is you already have the defaults. So if you don't care, you leave it alone and you create, right? But if you care, then you change it. So,
but I don't want, but as a system admin, I might not want people to be able to change it. Exactly what I'm saying. So
yeah, but you are the system admin, whoever is adding.
I don't agree.
Hmm.
In this case, I see in your case, yes, but that might be, yeah. So it works, beautiful, it's all configurable and everything, but
I mean, it's the same token as in whenever you wanted to configure like a database, right? So it's the same thing. I mean, if you're able to configure the database connection string, you should also be able to configure those. So
can we configure the connection string? Yes.
Of course, yeah.
Schema.
So if you're able to configure that, then you should be able to configure all this as well.
Or isn't it not about setting the connection string, but here it's more about setting the name of the tables and everything?
You know what, it might be nice is to be able to add a new feature to be able to create like a database, like sources. So in the system, you create database source along with configuration for each source. And then here, instead of having all this, then you can say, hey, select this connection. And if you select, or this source, so source A, source B, then think of it as an instances. So if you have a really big SaaS and you split things into multiple databases, then you can say, well, database A, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can just select one. And that one will have the pre-configuration for everyone within it. But since we allow the connection string, I think you should also provide everything else.
I think it's a different level still. Yeah. I'm more afraid of too much choice. Maybe sometimes confusing, and too much power can do something wrong. See the comments. Implementation details. Table prefix is still there.
Yeah, it's currently part of the options.
Do you mean see it here?
Which one?
Table prefix.
Oh, when you select, you see where it say none on the database server?
Yes.
So if you change that, it will give you a prefix. If it's not a light, SQLite, it will give you that.
Okay, but table schema should not display. So none. So none means SQLite?
Say that again?
None. What does it mean?
None means by default, I believe SQLite.
Well,
no, none will prompt the user to select something during this.
Okay.
Yeah, none will allow the user to select something.
That should be explicit here. It's not even myself, I'm confused now. Database preset, okay, it's a preset, okay. But at least this is not available to the setup, even though you could define a connection string on setup. You see that if you also did what I believe here, which is you didn't implement that on the setup screen.
Yes, we did.
You did that thing also on the setup screen?
Yep, if you don't have it configured, then you have to.
I see. So it's not
So if you
No,
pre-configure a string, if you pre-configure the connection, then no, we're not going to show that.
Yeah, it's better because you are consistent here. So it's a better. You won a point. I'm like, you provide a connection string because you have to say where you want to, because you have to. I mean, you can't, unless it's defined there, and you can also predefine a connection string.
I mean, we took it further than that. Even like when you create a tenant through workflow or create a tenant through API, it's all, we added the support for everything you can, yeah.
That I like, but yeah, okay, so. Okay, wait. Yeah, okay, that's the preset here. So if I define it, then it won't appear in the setup, but I can change it here. Okay, so these are the defaults. Integer also is still a default, it's not long. Why is the default integer?
I don't know. I think that's the because that's the current default in Orchard.
Yeah, but for new tenants now we. Oh wait, can we mix tenants? I'm not sure, because maybe that's the issue, the dimension table.
Oh, you can mix, yeah.
Can we have a mix?
For every tenant. So if every tenant want to use big integer, then they can use big integer, but it has to be big integer across the board for that tenant.
Yeah, sure, for a tenant, but because no, we have also for new tenants, I believe we could now use the longer one for new tenants all the time by default. We should do that.
But I think integer has a slightly better performance. So
yes,
I think
it has.
Yeah, so by default should be integer unless someone say, hey, I really know what I'm doing and I really know I'm going to have a giant data and I'm going to switch it to bigger integer. So I don't think we should just make it a big integer unless someone really know what they're doing and switched it.
Can say that for the opposite. That's interesting, but interesting. We can still change it later for sure. It's just a default. So okay, I agree with everything you said then.
That's impossible. You never agree.
No, I change my mind sometimes. So I am fine with that. I will be totally even maybe a little bit better if we even have that, but it's the preset, so yeah, okay, fine. Is there a none here?
No, it's either integer or no or big integer.
I mean, identity colon type. Is there a none value?
No, so either integer or big integer.
So you don't see that on the setup screen.
If it's pre-configured, then no. If it's not,
how do I not pre-configure it?
So if you pre-configure the database connection, then none of this will appear.
Okay, so if I say none here,
then yes, it will appear.
Because that doesn't appear here?
No, if it's none, then
on this screen. Okay, but on this screen here, I have a screen here.
Mm-hmm.
And is this screen an actual screenshot or did you make it up?
No, it's an actual screenshot.
So when none is here, I can still select integer, table schema, document, and underscore.
Yes.
So I would assume this is still a preset. I don't select what database you want, but I tell you it will be integer, it will be document, it will be underscore, and I don't define the schema.
Yeah.
Which for me is none. So that's my question. Then if there is a preset integer, even if it's none there, then you should not ask people, what do you want, integer or long? I mean,
well, I think so. So here's the thing. So currently, before this PR, currently we have, is the database connection configured? Yes or no? If it is configured on the setup screen, we do not show anything related to database. Okay, so it's the same thing. If you show, and also if you don't configure, obviously you show everything, including prefix, including the provider that you want to select.
This is new. What is not new here? Table prefix was not there before. Document name was not there before.
Table prefix exists, but the naming separator was not there.
Yes, table prefix was there. That was the only thing, table prefix.
Correct.
And independently of the connection string. Okay. But table prefix is required for a new tenant. Well, now you can either have table prefix or schema or both. So that's what I believe, that we could just have added table schema the same way with table prefix. And table schema being a little bit different, because I agree here it being here because it could be predefined for all the tenants, have a schema, and that would work. But you might use it as a tenant discriminator, so you might still want it on the setup script like table prefix. And that's how I distinguish it with the other things that don't have to be on the setup screen. So you can't have a predefined table prefix because every tenant might change it. You can't have a predefined connection string. Well, you can, but you need something to vary. So this is tenant prefix or table schema at least. The rest doesn't have to. That's why it's bothering me.
Well, I mean, in this case, you might actually want a schema, but you don't want prefix.
Yeah, that's why the tool needs, I understand that the tool needs to, well, schema needs to be preset or not, but still available on the setup screen if it's not preset. Table prefix can't be preset. Table schema is a mix. The three other ones, they are not like schema or table prefix.
I think if you don't want to preset the configuration for your database, if you don't want it, then you should allow whoever is using the setting up the app decides whatever they want. But if you preset everything, then whoever is presetting or setting up the site shouldn't be able to do anything, which is exactly the case today. So all these information, these are all configuration for how we're gonna end up communicating, like how we're gonna store the database, there's table naming and everything.
Okay. I changed my mind twice. I think it's a very bad idea to expose that document and table naming, and probably also integers. I can type anything I want there. I could have a SaaS solution, and then even if I have something here, because so when I go to this screen, by default, this is empty, or this is set.
It's set. That's the default.
It's set, and if I go in my setup screen, I can still change it.
Not if you select a connection.
I think it's wrong, because I can type a connection string to the database because I want to use this database, but then I can change. So I can use an existing database because I can change it, and I can change the table name and the thing. That seems risky. Like I could inject SQL, because we don't verify that whatever is typed is valid in terms of SQL or not.
Well, we do on the server side when you during the setup or during the add, if you put invalid value, we're going to reject it.
Do you reject it? It seems super technical and risky to give access to that risky, and then I think it's unnecessary to show at the setup level.
I mean, if you tell the user you can provide a string of connection string, I mean, it can't get riskier than that.
It can. Your connection string might just say what's the name, like impersonation. So you just say, I don't know, what's the connection, that was the password or whatever, but use whatever the user connecting to the app is, whoever it is. And then you also say, oh, this is something that will be part of the query. Yes, if it's like if your connection string is passwordless, then there is a risk that where you don't have access to the password. But when the app is running, it will have access to the password, and then it will be able to do things. If your connection string has the password, then you know the password, that's safe. But I'm afraid of the cases where you might not be able to do that. And our code is safe to run because they know that our code will create a database, create tables, and that's all what our code is doing. But then you can also say something that will be part of the database and share that. Safety consideration here. So that scares me. And my previous idea was like, I don't think users should be able to change that. And now it kind of scares me now. Schema for sure. So I would add a comment. And if nobody complains, then I'm like, I'm fine. If I'm the only one to see issues with that, then that's just me. I ping Zoltan because he's usually more stricter than me. So if he says he's okay, he's doing SAS, I'm like, well,
Sebastian, if you allow.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So yes, I prefer these configurations to be somewhere else, not in the setup screen. So I don't know.
The suggestion is to have it in the configuration file such that the admin says,
yeah,
for all the tenants, what should be the value that I want my tenants to use, and only show on the setup screen what has to be or should be able to change, like table prefix and schema.
Yeah, so I think that the setup screen should remain minimal.
So for complexity, because most users, they don't care. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Like imagine you go on TryOrchard, it's a biased one because we have a custom setup screen. But imagine on people like TryOrchard, they create a new SaaS tenant and they see that and it's like, that's weird. Why?
And I think that this no scroll setup screen is just okay.
And what's the other one? The name of this thing? Separator. Something with pivots sometimes. They don't. Okay. Terry also suggests to make it simple. Mike, you still with me?
I'm here.
I know I'm a pain in the ass.
No, you're good. I mean, I don't agree, but
that's why I ask someone else to say something.
Yeah, no,
when
that
there are
sounds
people
good.
investing in the conversation to give opinions. Sometimes it's fine to not have opinions. I'm totally fine with that. Like people don't care or don't have these issues, but I want to be super safe here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We want the best for the product again.
Awesome. Okay, let's go now. Time to end the meeting. Thanks everyone. Thank you, Soteris, for joining us. Everyone else I'm always thankful for everyone else to join, but Soteris is not every day, so welcome back. Till next time. And I thought about you this morning because someone I saw, I think on Reddit, asked about a .NET equivalent of Django. And I thought about you because I know you have experience with Django.
Yes.
You should answer on Reddit to use Orchard Core. I didn't want to answer because I don't know Django enough to say Orchard Core is what you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks everyone. See you on Thursday or next week. Bye-bye.